Hello, Darragh. Thank you very much for joining me today. You've been a guest I've been wanting on for a while now, so it's a pleasure to have you on. How are you?
Oh, great. Thanks a lot for having me on.
No problem. I'm looking forward to this chat. First of all, today, I'd like to go back to 2017, where you first appeared as a contestant on The Chase. What made you choose The Chase? Had you always been a big fan of the show?
Yeah, I have always been a big fan of the show. I really like it as a format. It's fun. And that's the thing, it's an entertaining show. It's not just a quiz show. But I had applied, I'd been on another ITV show before that called Rebound. It only ran for one season and I was on it. And I really enjoyed that. And they said, oh, look, you should apply to other things. So I applied to a few and The Chase called me up. So it was great.
And how did it feel appearing as a contestant on The Chase? Because when you think of The Chase, you think of 5 o'clock, everybody's having the tea, everybody's watching it.
Yeah, it's a very surreal sort of experience for contestants. And I think people need to give contestants a lot less of a hard time because, you literally, the thing that Brad says at the start, 4 people who've never met before, you're on a team with like 3 complete strangers and you have to try and figure out a way that you can all work together as a team and support each other, which is hard. And then you sort of, for most people, you're walking into probably the first time you've been in a TV studio, which is intimidating in itself. There's a lot of people there. There's a lot of cameras. It's, really bright lights. It's very unsettling. And I know they edit it to make it look like it's all smooth, but there's a lot of stoppages and it takes quite a long time. So, it's not easy being a contestant, but I really enjoyed it. I don't get stage fright, so I had a great time.
At the end of that, the pot was 6,300 and all 4 of you won it by beating Paul. How did it feel beating him?
It was really cool. So one of the nice sort of weird coincidences is I'm on a pub quiz team here in Oxford and Paul used to be on the team. Not when I was on it, years and years ago. So before I even moved to England, he was on the team that I'm on now. So I always wanted to go up against him because I'd be able to tell the guys who are still on the team who know him, I was able to beat him. And at that point, Paul was well on his way to being the British quizzing champion, so it's great to beat someone who's really, really good. So yeah, it was really, really good. I didn't expect to win, because most people don't. Most teams don't win. So it was great to get anything, to be honest.
Because it is a very, like you say, a very hard game to win. And Paul is a very good quizzer, so that was great. And if there's anyone watching this who is planning to go on The Chase, is like being a former contestant yourself, is there any advice you'd give them before going on? Because I know it's easy to say revise, but like you just don't know what's going to come up. So
there's no secret formula. This is the thing. A lot of people ask me this, what's the best thing if I was to go on the show? What's the best way to do it? There is no secret formula for winning. You just have to work together as a team and try your best. The best thing you can do really is just, try and get the whole team back to give yourself a good chance in the final. There is no advice I could give that would give people much of an advantage. You just have to go and hope that the questions fall your way.
Yeah, because there's just so much. It's going to be impossible to like pick what you're going to revise and what you aren't. So, yeah.
To give you an idea about that, when I first started the sort of audition process for becoming a chaser, I asked, is there a list of topics that are covered? And they said, yeah, there is actually. And they gave it to me. And it's like a tree. It was about 100 topics. And then each one of those is split into subtopics. And each subtopic is split into subtopics. There's thousands and thousands of potential areas for questions. So it would be absolutely impossible for anybody, no matter how good they are, to
yeah. Yeah, and that leads me on perfectly, you mentioning that there, because after you had your great win, how long was it they approached you to be an actual chaser?
Oh, so it was well before it aired. So when the show aired, that was sort of 6 or 7 months after it was recorded. That's pretty typical in television, that you don't record stuff fairly close. It all has to be edited and sent out and stuff. So it was months and months afterwards. I think I got contacted a week or 2 ago after, I think it was a short period of time after it was recorded. And one of the producers called me up and I thought it was a joke at the start, but yeah, I realized it wasn't. So yeah, it was really, really close after it was recorded. They contacted me.
Because I know you, like you said there, it didn't air until November last year, your first episode. And with COVID as well, it will have been a bit of a long time in the making. But your first episode was the highest ever viewed episode of The Chase.
Yeah, it was at the time. I think one after that. I think it's now the second. But yeah, it was the highest viewed regular daytime show. Yeah, by by a little bit. Yeah, it was. See, people like something new, you know, and they were all keen to see what it was and that kind of thing, and they were able to, you know, they're not stupid. The guys who run the show, they know how to work this, and they brought in the idea and the mystery outline with the question mark, and people were really raring to go. So a lot of people were tuning in, and then once it went on, it sort of picked up. So yeah, it got loads. I think it was over 5 million. It was a really good response from people. So yeah, it was good marketing, and yeah, I think people liked the idea of seeing who the new person was and what they were like.
Because I'm a big fan of the show, and when it was announced that there was going to be a new chaser, I was wondering who was this going to be, because a couple of months prior to your first appearance, there was somebody who wants to be a millionaire. He got to the full 1 million, and I thought, is it going to be him? Yeah, it was, but it just kept me waiting, and it was good how they've done it, but it must have been amazing for you knowing that 4.9 million people have tuned in to see you on your first episode.
The thing is that's a very sort of weird and surreal number, you know. It's hard when you're sitting, because I was sitting at home, you know, watching it. It was just like watching a regular show. I just happened to be on it and I knew what was coming. But yeah, it's very hard to sort of parse into your mind that this many people watch. And because of COVID and because of lockdown, after it aired, my life didn't change at all, you know, because I never went out. If I did, I was wearing a mask. No one recognized me. So it was only online. I got like, you know, 15,000 followers on Twitter, and I got loads of newspapers talking to me and all that kind of stuff. But my actual real life didn't change at all. So it was a bit like it was happening to someone else nearly.
Since we've come out of COVID, have you been recognised anymore by people out on the street?
Yeah, I get recognised a lot now. So, you know, I still wear a mask quite a bit because I'm a scientist and I know that it makes a difference. So I wear a mask pretty much anytime I'm indoors. So if I'm in a shop or anything, I'm wearing a mask. But if I'm outside and I'm wandering around without one, people do recognise me. I get stopped pretty much every day.
Because the chase is a show what everybody is seeing, so people are bound to recognise you.
Yeah, it does happen. And like I've also been in, like, you know, the National Television Awards when we won an award, all that kind of thing. So, and especially around here, because like in Oxford, people know that I live here, so they put two and two together if they see someone that looks like me. And yeah, so I get it quite a bit. Most people don't stop me. Most people don't say anything, but I do notice people sort of doing double takes and sort of pointing at me and stuff. But that's kind of part of the deal.
I just want to ask about that, what you just mentioned there as well. Winning an NTA and being at the award ceremony, how did that feel for you? Like,
yeah, it was a really weird experience because, like I say, I live a normal life. Like I'm currently in the university working, so this is like my boss's office that I'm in, just because it's quiet. Yeah, I'm in work, so I don't do TV stuff most of the time. I'm only in TV land maybe 40 or 50 days a year. You know, it's not that much. My actual real 9 to 5 Monday to Friday job is still working in the lab.
Yeah.
So going to something like the NTAs and stepping out onto a red carpet, I didn't realize. I thought I would get onto the red carpet and I'd basically just stroll in, maybe get a photograph taken. Loads and loads of people were asking for photographs, autographs, all that kind of stuff. It took me about 15 minutes to make it down to the end of the red carpet, which I didn't expect. You know, I thought I'd be a complete unknown. And compared to most people there, I was, you know, like there's some really big stars, like, you know, Anton Deck and Jonathan Ross and all these guys who are like huge stars. They were all there. So I was a fairly minor player, but there was still quite a lot of people there who knew who I was, which was a bit weird.
Were you happy by the response of people asking you for autographs and pictures and everything?
Yeah, it's fine. Like obviously, you know, there's certain situations where it wouldn't be okay. You know, if I'm busy doing something, if I'm eating dinner or something, don't be annoying me, you know. But if I'm walking down the street and people want to say hello and people ask for a picture, I'm most of the time, unless I'm like running for a train or something, it's part of the deal of being on TV. You know, I don't mind if people are polite. If people are rude and they're, you know, expect too much, or they want me to like I've had people sitting outside one of the pubs in Oxford stop me for a photograph and ask me did I want to go for a drink with them. I'm like, no, I'm on my way to get a bus, you know. I'm happy enough to say hi and sort of do a photograph and things. They're like, oh, come on. I'm like, honestly, no, I've got a life, I can't be doing this. They were nice enough about it, they weren't being rude, but like once people don't expect too much, it should be fine.
Like you say, you're still a scientist, you've got a job to do.
I literally have a full-time job. My life has not changed all that much.
It's quite crazy to think that you're on TV and the next minute you're just doing a normal job again.
Well, I'm not the only one, you know, like Sean is a full-time barrister.
Yeah.
He works way more hours than I do. Like that's a very, very strenuous job. And Paul still tours as a comedian, you know, he's still doing gigs. He wasn't at the NTAs because he had a gig, you know, like he's got another full-time job too. And I know the others tend to do mostly showbiz stuff, but they do showbiz stuff. You know, they'll be doing like, you know, TV shows, and they've got podcasts and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, we're all busy people. The Chase is not enough time to dedicate your whole life to it, you know, like you do a lot of stuff in the background, but as far as filming is concerned, it's really not that many days.
How long do the Chase episodes usually take to film when you do?
Oh, we film 3 a day. It's 3 different chasers, so it'll either be a morning, an afternoon, or an evening. So it's a few hours. Anything on TV, if you're looking at a show like that, basically you have to, at a minimum, double the runtime. So it takes two and a half, 3 hours. It depends. A lot of it depends on how much Brad talks to the contestants and whether he gets down a rabbit hole talking to someone about something. So yeah, that can, if we start talking about the good old days with someone, or they have some connection in common, and he can chat to them for ages. So that can take up quite a bit of time. Yeah,
I think we've seen that a couple of times. I remember one of
the.
I don't think it was this series, but the last series of Beat the Chasers, I think. Didn't he call someone a name or something who was like an old physio or something like that?
Yeah. So that was someone who used to be a physio when he used to play for Brentford. Yeah. And then they got chatting about one of their mates and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, that kind of thing can go on. And it's the same with us, you know, if we're having a particularly, say, there's a bad, hard run of questions and we're getting a lot wrong and the contestants are getting a lot wrong, that takes a lot longer. Whereas if we zip through and we catch people very quickly, that can make the show much shorter, you know. So if 2 or 3 people get caught at the table really quickly, you know, it's obviously much shorter. So yeah, and then the poor people who have to do the edit, who have to fit it into whatever number of minutes, either have too much and they need to cut it, or they don't have enough and they have to try and stretch it out. So yeah, luckily that's not my job.
Yeah, one is, I imagine it's a very hard job. I want to take you now back to when you became a chaser. How, like, I know we've discussed like the process, but how did it feel for you becoming one? Like, had it always been a dream of yours? Like, had you ever thought, I'd love to be one of them? Because I imagine you're someone who's always has an interest in quizzing.
Yeah, I never imagined this would ever happen. Like, it really never did. It never occurred to me, because hand on my heart, dead honest, I am not that good at quizzing in terms of the really, really good players. I am not that good. All of the other chasers are better than me. All of them. I'm
not sure about
I am easily the worst. When we do training sessions and we do practice stuff, I am always last. Always. I'm very good at the show, those questions. I'm very good at that level of questions. But when it comes to like proper competitive quizzing, I'm kind of mid-table. I'm a reasonable player. So I'm in a league in Oxford and my team don't ever win the league. Ever.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, no, never. I'm not in the A team for the Irish quizzes. I'm like in one of the lower tier teams. In the online quiz league, I think we're in Division 3. When people are really super competitive quizzers, people like Paul and Anne and these people who do the competitions, who work at it all the time, they're way better than me. But I'm good at stuff on the show. I'm very quick and I know sort of medium level questions really well. So I'm able to you know, do that kind of thing. But I'm not that good. I know that sounds weird because people have seen me on the show and I'm very good on the show, but comparatively speaking, I'm not that good. But I do like quizzing and I do like it. And I only got into competitive quizzing when I was being auditioned for the show. I did the Oxford Quiz League for a laugh, but in terms of actually training myself and learning lists and all, I only did that when I started interviewing.
I'm actually very shocked by what you've said there, because like I say, I'm a big fan and I watch the show as much as I can. How many times have you actually been beat? Because on your own, I haven't really seen it that much. And
well,
I thought since you've come in, you've been up there with the...
There's 2 answers to that question. There's one I can give you and one I can't. So obviously I can't talk about shows that haven't aired yet.
Yeah.
So as far as the world is concerned and that have aired, I've only lost 1.
Yeah.
But yeah. But this is what I'm talking about is being good at the chase is not being good at competitive quizzing. That's a different kettle of fish. So if I went to the World Championships now, I would be middle-ish. I think in the Irish rankings, I'm in the top 20. In the UK rankings, I'd struggle to make the top 50. I would really struggle. I'd probably be in much closer to 100. There's a lot of people who are, but a lot of those people will be terrible as chasers because either they're not very good at speed, or they get camera shy, or they wouldn't be able to do the other parts of the show, you know, having a laugh with Brad, and they might be very nervous and that kind of stuff, which I'm quite good at. So I'm not saying that these people would be brilliant chasers. I'm just saying they would beat me in competitive quizzing, hands down. I'm not able to dedicate enough time to it.
Is there a difference, like you said, between being a chaser on the chase, like being in an actual quiz league?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So the standard of the quiz is the chase is an entertainment show that is set around quiz. That's the thing. It's accessible to everyone. It's part of the reasons for success. So, you know, there are certain levels of questions. There are really easy questions, really, really easy ones. You know, the tap-ins, that Brad goes, oh, that's a stupid question or whatever. Then there's the normal questions, there's moderately hard ones, and then they get really, really, really hard. And in most competitive quizzes, the number of very easy questions is really low, whereas the number of sort of moderate and hard questions is much, much higher. And the balance is different for the chase for very good reasons. So yeah, I would be pretty good at, you know, the first sort of 3 categories, but the very, very hard ones, the really tricky sort of specific ones, not so much. And I've got quite a few gaps in my knowledge as well. There's some things I'm terrible at.
What would you say your strongest subject? Because science, that's your job, so I imagine you'll be good at that. But what else would you say you specialise in?
Really, really good at history. My mother's a history teacher. Was a history teacher, and it was always my best subject in school. So I'm really, really good at history, and I've put a lot of effort into learning British history, which I didn't really know that well before I came on the show. I would be pretty good at, like, you know, TV. I'm fairly strong on some sports, football especially. I know a lot about football, but I'd be rubbish at other sports. I know nothing about cricket. I know just nothing at all. I've tried, but it's a huge subject, so I know a really thin layer across the top. I don't know very much about tennis. I know, like, the major people, but I would struggle with specific. Athletics, again, I'm okay, but the thing is, part of the problem is that I didn't grow up in the UK. So things that people here inherently know, like, say, you know, people from the Olympics that did well for Team GB, you know, 4 or 5 Olympics ago, everyone remembers, you know, the person who won the gold medal in whatever track and field event or the swimming event. They'll all know exactly which one it is, but I won't. So, you know, because I know all the Irish ones, which is easier because there's hardly any of them. But yeah, so things like that I really struggle on.
I think I'll be on the same page as you as for football, probably quite a bit of knowledge, but other ones not so great. But you mentioned history. I think, did you and Sean ever compete over that one? Because I remember he came on months ago and said that was his strong point.
It depends. So Sean is, when it comes to things like exact dates, really nucleated facts. So, you know, he knows the exact date that a battle happened, a king or queen was crowned, all that kind of stuff. He knows the exact date. And he's the same with sport. He's immense at sport. Like, he'd be able to tell you the date and the attendance of World Cup finals from the 30s or the 50s or something. Like, he has that all in his head, and I do not have that at all. In general history, I'd be as good as Sean, but in specifics, no way. I'm nowhere near as good.
When I want to now go to when you met the rest of the team and you were official as a chaser, how did it feel joining such an established group of chasers who'd been together for nearly about a decade at that point?
Yeah, so Jenny hadn't been that long, but the others all had. It was fine. They're really, really nice people. Very welcoming, very friendly. They've helped me an awful lot with my quizzing, and, you know, any problems I've had, they've been really, really good to help. Really friendly. Paul invited me to his wedding, and I barely knew him, and I got to meet loads of people at that. Loads of really nerdy quizzers. Like, if you can think of the nerdiest group of people, Paul's wedding, there was all these wonderful, like, people from the world of comedy and from quiz. It was great. But yeah, it was really welcoming. They were very friendly, and, you know, we have a WhatsApp group and we all chatted and stuff. The thing is, we don't actually meet together in person all that much. Until Beat the Chasers comes, it's very, very rare for all of us to be together. So, you know, like, because only 3 shows are recorded a day, and the people on the morning show and the people on the evening show don't meet usually. So it's usually at most 2 of us in studio at once. So yeah, it's a really friendly group though. I've had no problem integrating at all.
So do you just talk on WhatsApp? I think Sean said as well on this that you use all different areas of the country.
Yeah, so quite a few of them are in London. Jenny's from Bolton originally, but I think she lives in London a bit now. I think she's moved to London. Anne lives sort of in around London somewhere. Paul lives sort of scattered around. We tend to get together for things like the awards shows and stuff like that.
My next question is, with you being a contestant before on the Chase, do you ever feel a bit more sympathy for the contestants with you once being in their footsteps?
I think I do a bit. Certainly some of the others probably feel less than I do. I would imagine Mark always just wants to crush the teams because he's so super competitive. But I think that we all do to a certain extent. We all sympathize. We all realize people are nervous. And most of the contestants are really nice. You occasionally get a really cocky sort of person who's like really, really irritating, who's deliberately trying to needle you to try and get you to make mistakes. And I don't think we feel much sympathy for them. But yeah, I understand, I think, better than the others what it's like to be a contestant and what it's like being at the bottom of that table looking up. It can be very intimidating.
Because what I'm going to move on to next is Beat the Chasers. And sometimes on that, it must be really hard to like watch you defeat someone sometimes, because when they've got like 1 second left and you might have 1 second left and then they might have a bit and then they might run down questions because they don't know them and they might be on 8 seconds and then they'll be beat because of it.
Yeah, it's hard seeing a good contestant, because if they get to a point where we've only got a couple of seconds left, that means they've been good. So we don't mind getting beaten by a good contestant. We do, but less so. It's hard, especially if somebody goes for one of the high offers and they come really close. You really feel for them. But the problem is that when they go for one of the high offers, they're up against all of us, and we are pretty good at anticipating which one of us will know the answer. So quite a lot of the time, I will not buzz in, even though I know the answer, because I know someone else will 100% know it. Leave it to them. Whereas the contestants don't have that. It's actually the flip of the normal game. So normally the chase is on their own and they have to make these guesses. But now we very rarely have to guess, and the contestants, the onus is on them. So that's why they get the time advantage to give them that chance of winning. But yeah, it's hard when you see someone come within like 1 second to winning, 50 grand or something. That's really hard to see.
On the topic of Beat the Chase, what is it you like about that separates it from the normal version that's on 5 o'clock every night?
Oh yeah, just what I said. It's much easier for us on a personal level. Like you can sit back and let someone else take it. So if say like I'm up with Paul and an 80s music question comes, I'm not great on 80s music, or because I was really young when that happened. But that's Paul's bag, and he knows it.
Yeah,
leave it to him. He's brilliant at that stuff. If something comes up about Star Wars, I love Star Wars. I love it, but I'm not very knowledgeable. But Jenny is encyclopedic on it. She is a complete nerd on Star Wars.
She's great at all that stuff. Yeah.
Like I said about Sean, if it's a particular date in history, just leave that. Sean will get that. Whereas I'd have a decent idea. So that pressure, that putting yourself out there where you're going to potentially get it wrong isn't there. And you just leave it. But if you leave it and a second goes by and nobody else jumps in, then you jump in with your guess. So in terms of, how much pressure is on us individually, it's much less. It's
a great show, and it obviously is on at the minute. And do you enjoy all being together as well?
Yeah. They're a good group of people. Like I got moved. So the first series I did, Paul obviously was ill, so he wasn't there. So I was beside Jenny, and we had a great laugh. Me and Jenny get along quite well. And then I was moved down the other end, and I was beside Paul. But Paul is one of the funniest people I have ever met. Like, I know he's a comedian, so it's his job, but a lot of comedians are only funny in their act. Paul is very, very funny, and he's very clever, and he has all these clever little jokes. So quite a lot of the time, if you look carefully, you'll see me sort of trying not to laugh.
Yeah.
Made some joke that is making me laugh about something Brad said, or someone in the audience doing something, or, he spots everything. So it's really, really good fun, and we all get along and we have a laugh. And then, it takes a long time. We're there all day. So we sit and we chat, and, you know, before the show goes out, we chat together and we have tea and stuff. And we're a close contact cohort, so we can actually all sit in the same room and all that kind of stuff. So we can get together and have a laugh, which is very rare for all of us. So it's good fun.
Like I said, it's a brilliant show. It just gives like a total different view of the chase, like all of you being together and everything. I've now got a few fan questions who replied to the tweet. I think we might have covered this one earlier a little bit, but Tasman Fife asks, do the chasers compete against each other backstage?
Yeah, we do. We're very competitive. We're mega competitive. It's all in our nature. So Mark keeps statistics. So Mark keeps a spreadsheet with answers and questions asked and all that kind of stuff. So he knows like actually mathematically how well we're doing. But when we do before a series starts, we like to do these training sessions. So we do them over like Zoom or something like that. And we do like competitive buzzer quizzes against each other. And yeah, that gets proper competitive. And I am always last. Always, just so you know.
Like I said, I'm still shocked by that. Johnny99 DT, if Bradley had to take on the role of a chaser and play 4 chasers, how bankrupt would ITV be?
Brad is a brilliant man in a lot of ways, but he's not. Yeah. I think his persona he plays on TV as the sort of lovable kind of nearly idiot, you know, is a bit of a persona. He's a smart man, but he's not a quizzer. He would not be very good at answering all the questions. So I think they'd probably need a lot more money in the bank. Yeah.
This one's from your brother, because I noticed the big thread of tweets on this one. At Fergus Ennis, who is your favourite brother?
Well, definitely not him.
And like, there was all the gifts and there was like loads of notifications on Twitter after that tweet.
My brothers all have their advantages. So I have 3 brothers. So Paul is the oldest. He was the best man at my wedding. And when it comes to being a reliable person you can lean on and who'll help you out, and you know, Paul, definitely. Brian was the youngest, so the next one up from me. He was always my friend in school, always looked after me, you know, really good guy. Me and Brian get along really well. But Fergus, if I was ever in trouble and I needed someone to get me out of a fight, 100%. Otherwise, hopeless, absolutely hopeless. But you can always back on him. No, I was never going to be picked on when he was around.
At least there's a purpose for something. And finally, Menace Minx 40 at Wolfsy Tree, I think I've said them right. They're both are science-related questions. Mm-hmm. Who's your favourite pioneering scientist and what made you fall in love with it?
Oh, so yeah, I've got a lot of scientists that I like and admire. Like I really got into science fairly young, so I always wanted to know how things worked. And I was like obsessed with David Attenborough. When he came to sign his books here, I queued up for 4 hours to get his book. It's the only time I've ever queued up that long for anything. I wouldn't queue up that long for concert tickets, nothing. So if I was to pick a person who sort of inspired me to get into science, it'd be David Attenborough. I love that man unbelievably. I would, and if he was here tomorrow, I would queue up for another 4 hours to get another book signed.
You might recognise, you know, the chase.
Probably not. I don't imagine he's at home at 5 p.m. looking at quiz shows for some reason.
Finally, Darragh, thank you so much for coming on today. It's been a pleasure to chat and talk about all things of chase and all the other things we've talked about. What are your plans for the next few months? Any more chase recordings, beat the chasers? Yeah,
I was in the studio yesterday. And then we've a few weeks off, I think. I don't know why, but yeah, it records in blocks, you know, so a few weeks off. And then, yeah, we've got quite a few shows to finish before the end of the year. So November, December, be in recording quite a bit. I don't know when the next series of Beat the Chasers is recording. It probably won't be this year. It'll probably be next year. And then, yeah, I've some other things on. I've got my own podcast, Untangling Science. So that's just an accessible science thing for everybody. I've got 4 or 5 episodes of that, and I have another couple recorded. I need to get them edited and posted. And I'm doing some other random stuff. I get asked things like doing this with you quite a bit. So yeah, I'll be around on stuff. But yeah, mostly it'll be the chase stuff and my own podcast, Untangling Science, I think.
Darragh, thank you for your time today. It's been a pleasure.
No worries. Thanks for having me on.